Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life.
I have loved this study on idolatry, and one of the things that Dee said that struck me this time was that we are idol-making factories, and the idols demand a sacrifice. And as I reviewed the sacrifices that my idols demanded, I was thinking in terms of relationship. They were broken relationships. When we get rid of our idols or allow the Lord to remove them, then what floods in is intimacy, first with Christ. And I found that was the thing I desired most. That was the need that wasn't met by sacrificing to those idols.
Jeremiah 2 is a portrait meant to awaken God's sleeping children. It is so bold and so graphic that Derek Kidner says that translators are shy about translating it literally. It begins positively with the positive side of the metaphor, when God reminisces how in the beginning Israel followed him. He says, I remember the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride, how you followed me in the wilderness, in a land not sown. Well, there was a very brief period when she was devoted to him, but there was a period after she had been delivered from slavery in Egypt, and he had parted the Red Sea and then covered over her enemies, and she was rejoicing. Miriam took up her tambourine and said, I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider fell into the sea, and she led all the women in a dance. But it's not very long before that bride is discontented. Sin is deceptive. We forget about the pain that it brings. So now they're sitting around the fire and they are reminiscing about their days as slaves. And they said, oh, we had cucumbers, we had garlic, we had leeks. You know, the fish was without cost. They're forgetting about the bricks, the beatings, the babies that were slaughtered. They're forgetting God. And again, you see that same broken-hearted bridegroom as you see in Hosea, because he asks, what wrong did you find in me? Our idols will let us down. Jeremiah says, they have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that can hold no water. And then God begins to use the language of intervention. Have you ever been in an intervention? I've been in one, where you try to show the individual the harm he's bringing to himself. Listen, God says, have you not brought this upon yourself by forsaking the Lord your God? You're evil. We'll chastise you. And then he gets really graphic, and it is shocking, but honestly, this, again and again, is what arrested the women in my pilot studies. Derek Kidner and Tim Keller says the best literal translation, and a couple of them, just a couple get it, is, you have spread your legs on every high hill and under every spreading tree. We become enslaved. We become addicts. And then Jeremiah says we are like an animal in heat. I don't know a lot about animals in heat, but I know a little. I know that cats howl. I know that salmon batter themselves bloody trying to get upstream. In the fall here, when I walk on a trail over to my sister's, I have to be careful because I can come upon a male buck who is sniffing for a female in heat, and he is not going to back down, and I'm the one who backs down. And Jeremiah says, you are like camels. You have left tracks all over the desert in your desperation. He's finally broken through their denial. That did it. And they say, okay, but it's hopeless. I have loved foreigners, and after them I must go. The idols within us are not lifeless. They have a life of their own. They can be like malignant tumors that grow. God compares them to a crouching beast. Do you remember when Cain was jealous of his brother Abel? And he's beginning to have these jealous thoughts. And God comes to him at that juncture. And he warns him. He says, if you do what is right, I will lift you up. But if you don't, sin is crouching at the door, and it longs to have you. I remember one time I was having dinner with my friend Cynthia and her husband Ed. And Ed said something during that dinner time conversation that absolutely stunned me. We were talking about heart idols, as I have been doing constantly for the last couple of years. And he said, Dee, heart idols demand a propitiation. I said, what do you mean? He said, gods always demand a propitiation. He said, there's only one God who was willing to be a propitiation for us, and that's Jesus Christ. The other idols cut us to pieces, but Jesus was willing to be cut to pieces for us. My idols have cost me health, loving relationships, peace and joy, and the presence of God. They have cut me to pieces. Why would I serve them when I have a God who was willing to be cut to pieces for me?
I was amazed as the battle raged, such piercing love I'd never seen. For I was just a peasant low when His Majesty